Good evening. Finally, I have got here. My phone rang. I accidentally pushed the button and restarted the phone, and we've had all sorts of fun and games. But I am here. So yeah, just a bit of a warning. Anything could and probably will happen this evening. It's going to be one of those sorts of evenings, I think. I was just looking at the camera just now and realised that there's just piles of rubbish everywhere that is visible, not just to me, but to you as well. So I just got hold of it and shoved it all to one side, and half of it's fallen off the end. But we'll deal with that in a moment. For now, hello. We are here. Let's move that across a little bit. Welcome in to this Facebook Live. My name is Helen Jennings. I am a Stampin' Up demonstrator based here in the UK, and as you can tell, I'm just a little bit flustered. So let's breathe, everybody. Take a deep breath, and we're going to do some crafting. I'm not entirely sure what we're going to do. I have a bit of a vague plan. I have a big class on Saturday, my big Christmas card buffet, and I am a little behind in prepping for it. So I have been very busy today, as my hands will testify. Lots of ink and goodness knows what. Doing things for that, as well as having to pop in and out and do other things as well. So suddenly, 20 to 6, suddenly thought, I have no idea what I'm doing on my Facebook Live, apart from we're going to be using these beautiful stars. I had an order come this afternoon, and I was 100% convinced that I'd ordered some of the new mercury glass acetate, and I was going to use some of that with some stars. But I obviously didn't order any mercury glass acetate, so we'll play with that another day when I do order it. For today, we'll play with something else. So our product of the week this week, and the bundle that we're going to play with, is this So Many Stars bundle. So this fabulous huge stamp set with all these stamps in, and these lovely sentiments and things, and these gorgeous dies. So they are fabulous, and we'll have a look at some of the things that we have made with it already before we go on to have a bit of a play this evening. So this is the stamp set in real life. So it is a photopolymer one, and you get 2 sheets. So lots of stamps, big decorative stars, some really nice greetings, and you can tell by the fact that they're tinged pink that it's already been quite well loved. So you get lots of elements in there to create some really beautiful cards, and the die set is just, well, it literally is a die to die for. It is fabulous. It is gorgeous. You've got all these stitch stars, these double stitch stars, you've got swirly stars, you've got sort of intricate stars, you've got these bits here that will sit within the spokes of the star to give that sort of a decorative intricate edge. You've got these little twinkly bits just here, and looking at that, one of my twinkles has gone walkies. I'll need to have a hunt for that in a minute. We are a twinkle down. We only have 4 twinkles on there, and we need 5. There was definitely 5 there when we finished the class last night. So it's here somewhere. So I need to have a twinkle hunt when we finish this live. So that is the beautiful die set. Absolutely gorgeous. This was that lovely star that we created, that 3D star that we created on Monday morning's live, that we copied from the catalogue. I'm using some gold glimmer paper and some DSP. Really lovely. And actually we reproduced this. So I had my Tesco's class on Monday afternoon, and I took this along, and we had to go at making these on Monday afternoon, but I knew that I hadn't got enough of this paper for everybody. So what I did do was I took along some real red card and this lovely mask from the new set of masks in the autumn winter catalogue, and some cherry cobbler ink, and we sponged through the mask to create our own patterned backgrounds, and it worked really well. So really lovely, those little stars. So that's what we did on Monday morning, so that was fabulous. These are some cards that I'd made previously. So this one is one that is currently part of the class that I take around the county in the evenings. So really nice simple card with just these stars, these stitch stars cut from bright coloured card. Bit of splattering on the background there, and then this greeting, hoping all your wishes come true. The greeting in the stamp set says hoping all your Christmas wishes come true. I just cut it up and didn't add the Christmas in, so made a really nice birthday card, good luck in university card, good luck in your new job. Could be all sorts of cards that you could use that for. Hi Jackie. So yeah, so that's one that we're using currently, as I say, in that county class that's going round. And then this one was one I made for the big party that we had a few weeks ago. Excuse me if I have a slurp of tea. And this one is using pigment sprinkles and silver glimmer paper and some vellum, and just really beautiful. And I also used some of the, I think it was the Frost White shimmer paint that I've splattered in the back there as well, to give that a really sort of like a galaxy sort of feel to it, but really lovely. And this sort of shows off all those detailed stars that you get in the set, as well as that huge big swirl. And these little stars here are the ones that pop out of this swirl when you cut that out. So we're going to do something on a little bit of a similar theme to that one this evening, I think, because what I thought we would do, and because I've been playing with them today, we've not done a live with them before. What I have got here behind me is, it's actually a cat litter tray, never been used for cat litter. It was bought particularly for crafty activities. So a cat litter tray that I've lined with some kitchen paper, and there we've got a piece of A5 shimmery white cardstock. So what I thought we would do this evening is that we would have a little bit of a play with the pigment sprinkles. We would make ourselves a sheet of pigment sprinkle paper, and then we would use that to create a couple of different cards using the stars. So that's the plan. We will see what happens. Hello, Arlene. How lovely for you to have you join us. Welcome. I have put out a warning right at the beginning of this video that anything could happen this evening, because it is one of those days. If I was to pan the camera around and show you the chaos around me, it is just madness. I have literally cleared a space underneath the camera, and that is about it. Apart from that, nobody move, breathe, sneeze, anything like that, because it will all come crashing down round our ears. So let's see how we get on. Often I'm a little bit more organised than I am today. I never claim to be completely organised, but we're going to have a play with some pigment sprinkles. So I have got my Stampin' Up spritz here, and it just has water in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to very liberally spritz our piece of sparkly paper, of shimmery white paper. Now, if you've not seen the new pigment sprinkles before, these are in the new autumn winter catalogue. And they are in Stampin' Up colours. So in last year's annual catalogue we had the brushos. These are actually called Pigment Sprinkles, and they come in Bermuda Bay, Melon Mambo, Gorgeous Grape, Daffodil Delight, I think that one is, yes, Granny Apple Green and Mango Melody. So they're really beautiful, and they are really, really vibrant. So let's have a think. What colours shall we have on here? I think we'll have some yellow, some of the Daffodil Delight, some of the Melon Mambo, some of the Grapefruit Grove. I think I'm going to put in a bit of Granny Apple Green. Do we want green? Yes, let's be daring. Who knows what we're going to get. Now, the really nice thing about these sorts of effects is that you actually never do know quite what you're going to get. So we've got a really nice piece of wet card. And the nice thing about these new pigment sprinkles is when you take this lid off, you then get a pop-up cap underneath, and you've got like these little holes in your lid that act as sort of like a little bit of a shaker. So let's just sprinkle some of that Melon Mambo on, and you can see this pigment powder, it is really highly intensified pigmented powder, and it is activated by water, so you can mix it with water. Oh, that one's obviously not had the lid put on properly because there's a lot sitting on the top there, so I'm just going to do that and put that lid back on quickly. So yeah, you can see that it activates with water, so as it's hitting that wet card it is starting to spread out a little bit, and you'll also see that the different colours, the pigment in them is made up of, so you don't just get purple powder in the purple or green powder in the green, you get bits of yellow, bits of blue, bits of all sorts of things going on, and that sometimes sort of breaks off when it hits the water. So really interesting. You can just mix it with water. So there we have, hi Stella, our paper with our powder mixed on. So what we're going to do now is, the minute I see where I have put it, we're going to spritz it again. Oh, do you know? Where are you, Spritz? There you are. Okay. So let's now give this another spritz, add some more water to it. And you can really see the intensity of colour coming out in that. Just going to let it sort of do its own thing for a minute. You can let it run a little bit. You can get some kitchen towel. Hello Sarah. I hope Andrew had a really nice birthday this week. Right. That's very fascinating, isn't it? And this is the thing about these sorts of techniques. You never know what you're going to get until you get it. So we can go in, dab some of that water out around the edge where it's pooling a little bit. Beautiful. Now you can just leave it to keep, you can add more water, you can take some of that colour out, you can leave it, and it's probably best if you leave it actually to dry naturally. Obviously we're not going to have time to allow it to do that because there's a lot of water sitting on there. You do get fabulous bits of kitchen towel, look, you might want to use as well. Let's move that out of the way for a minute. I think what I'm going to do with that, while you're letting it sort of, it keeps on working and keeps on moving all the time that it's sitting there. Once you dry it, of course, it's then going to be a bit more set. So let's take my heat tool. So apologies for the noise. I'm going to turn it down so it's not quite on hot for a minute, just because I want it to start drying it without necessarily forcing the colour to run around too much. Now I'm sure that it is possible to have an exact science with pigment sprinkles, and you know, there are artists, it is an artist medium. It's not predominantly a craft world thing, it is an artist thing. It is, you can say, you can mix these with paper, with water, and make paints out of them. And I have seen sort of demonstrations with artists and things that seem to be able to get just the colour they want where they want. I quite like the fun and the randomness of never quite knowing what's going to happen. I'm going to whop that up a little bit, because obviously we want it to dry relatively quickly. So obviously with your background paper you can then use it for all sorts of things. You can die cut things out of it, use it as a background. Whatever you fancy. And if you're going to paint with it, what you can do is, so if you've got like a nice big image, it's probably best to heat emboss it. And then what you can do is, the pigment sprinkles will only react where there is water. So if there's no water, they're not going to react. So what you can do, if you've got a nice big image, if you paint with water the section of the picture that you want to be coloured, and then you can sprinkle your powders on, and then that will react with the water. Let that dry or dry it off, and then you can move on to the next section of your picture. Or you can just mix it up into a paint and paint with it. So lots of ways you can use your pigment sprinkles. You can sprinkle them onto your embossing folders and spritz those and then run a piece of card through. You can stamp with them. Right, I think that's obviously a bit curly, but I think it's dry-ish, or dry enough for us to be able to use it. So we have this mad background, really quite different from the background that I created there. I think that one was the Gorgeous Grape, the Bermuda Bay, and I think I might have put a little bit of Melon Mambo in that one. So this one is obviously very different colours. So what I'm going to do now, I wonder how dry that is. Is it going to cut on my trimmer? I think I'm going to use this side. I'm going to cut this down so that it is centimetres that way by 14.4 that way. And then here we have a piece of basic black card that, oh, no, not that one. No, actually, it's because I've not trimmed this down. Let's trim it down enough. We've got a mat underneath it. Let's go for 13.9 by, deciding which way I'm going to cut it, 9.5. That's it. Now it will sit very nicely on our black mat, and I always think black underneath these things really makes things pop. Hello Angie, hope you're starting to feel a little bit better. I did see on a post you'd posted somewhere the other day that you were still in bed. That's not good news. Right, big shot. So I've got my die cutting machine here. Let's pop our pigment sprinkle mat to one side, and I'm going to bring in this lovely big swirly die. I love this big swirly die, and we're going to have some gold glimmer paper. So let's put some gold glimmer paper in there, and our big swirly die. And we'll run that through. Now obviously we might need to run this through a couple of times because it is, after all, a glimmer card and a fancy die. And it does mean that you might need to run it through a couple of times just to ensure that cuts. But as I've said to lots of customers in the past, it's still much easier. Having to run it backwards and forwards a few times is still much easier than having to cut that by hand. And look at that, that's just going to pop out now. That's beautiful. Just pop out all those inner bits. I do want to gather up those spare little stars. So there we have our gold glimmery, shimmery swirl of stars. And if you remember, I said on Monday that in the stamp set there is a couple of stamps. So this stamp here and this stamp here, that if you stamp onto your card, then you should be able to line it up so that those swirly bits sit over the top of your stamped images, so it can create like a centre bit. I'm glad you're feeling better, Angie, and do keep on getting better. Take care, be gentle with yourself. Don't go mad and send yourself backwards. I know that's quite often the temptation, that we think, right, okay, I'm up, now I need to get on with this, this and this. Right, let's just move all those little bits of glimmer out of the way. So we have, as I said at the beginning, we are definitely making this up as we go along, but we have our pigment sprinkle background. We have a gold swirly star. We have some little gold stars that we can stick on here. We might move those in a minute. And we want some sort of a greeting to go on that. Let's think. Not sure that it's particularly a Christmas card, but let's go with sending you love, sending you love and plenty of cheer. May your days be bright throughout all the year. So you could have that as either a Christmas card, or that could indeed be a birthday greeting, couldn't it? So I think we will find ourselves a little bit of black card. I've actually got something on the back of that, but that will be okay. And I think we will find I found every embossing powder apart the gold one. Here it is. We'll find our gold embossing powder and our Versamark and our embossing buddy. So let's ink that up. We'll pop a mat underneath it. Give it a rub. Give that a stamp, and fingers crossed. I need to treat myself to a new plastic spoon in my gold embossing powder. That one's looking a little bit sorry for itself. Pop on that powder, give it a good flick, knock off any that isn't attached to our Versamark, and then let's bring back in our heat tool. I will move that out the way because I don't really want to melt that. And let's heat this up. Gold is always the most dramatic, isn't it, of the embossing powders when it comes to heating it. It's the one that really pops out and says, here I am, look how gorgeous I am. Apologies for the noise of me rummaging around. Just wondering. Much too big. And that's going to be too long. And I really, although I could, that one would work, wouldn't it? I was going to say, although I could sort of cut them down and do all those sorts of things, I'm having one of those days today where that feels just like a little bit of a faff too far. Do you have days like that too? Some days you're quite happy to sit and do all sorts of twiddling and fiddling about, and then other days when they're really busy, like today's been, and you've got 100 million squillion things that you need to be getting done, that just feels like a bit too much. But that's okay, because hopefully that will have worked perfectly. Thank you, Stitched Rectangles. We do love you. So we've got a nice gold stitched rectangle there with our gold embossing. Oh, there's another little star just there. Let's not lose that. We've got our swirl. So let's stick some of that together. Let me put those stars 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 nicely together just there in a pile so we don't lose them. Okay. And we'll put some Tombow on the back of this. Now it is a little bit warped just where it's been very wet and then dried quite quickly. But we'll give that a good press down. Sorry for the shaking. Hello, Robin. And then we will put some glue on the back of our sentiment just there. And then we'll put some little blobs on the back of our twirly stars. We'll bring those down there like that. We'll add in some of our stars out of the centre of our swirlies. I've got swirlies. I was watching a video that Rick Attkins had done this morning with blends that was really fabulous. A fabulous masterclass in colouring with your blends. But he was drawing trees, and I think he had squigglies. So he had squigglies, I'm having swirlies. Thank you, Robin. We've been playing with Pigment Sprinkles. So we've just created a great big A5 sheet using the Pigment Sprinkles, and that's one background. So I created a card base out of thick wisp white before I started, so let's stick that on there. That's quite fun, isn't it? So although that greeting, as I say, is out of that set, Christmas set, and is perfect for a Christmas greeting, and it doesn't say anything about Christmas, it's just wishing you all the best for the coming year, so it could very well be a birthday card or some such as well. Let's put a few little oh, did I get that stuck to my finger? That serves me right for not getting my take your pick tool. I'm just trying to do it with my hands. No two sprinkles are ever the same. They just, well, I'm sure there may be people out there that can make them the same, but I think it's because I enjoy the randomness of it. I wouldn't even be attempting to make them the same. Come here. I'm going to need one more because at the moment we've got an even number, and you can't have an even number of swirly things, of decorating things. So there, we've got a really mad pigment sprinkle, glittery, shimmery gold card there. That's really bright and cheerful, isn't it? Beautiful. Right, so we've still got another somewhere, half a sheet. And look, even this half a sheet looks different than that. The colours in that are very different again, aren't they? So I'm actually going to cut this down again to 9.5 centimetres and 13.9 centimetres. What side am I going to trim off this side time? I think quite like that green down there, so I think I'm going to come this way, and there's no reason why you couldn't use these strips for something else, and I think I'm going to come this way. I mean, I could take a little bit off either side, but I think we'll do that. And then what I think I'm going to do this time is I'm going to take some of these stitched stars. Let's see, we'll have that one and that one and that one, I think. So I've not tried this out before. I'm not gonna know how this is going to turn out. I'm just going with, well, let's have a play. And there's always lessons to be learned. If it turns out being absolutely awful, the lesson we will learn is, don't do that again. So let's cut out some stars from this background. It's stuck to my mat. Oh, that little star's still stuck in there. Hopefully catch up with you later, Robin. So there, we've got 3 stars there, and I'm going to pop those in my box because I'm not going to use those this evening, but there's no reason why I can't use those on a third project. So I'll just pop those to one side and we'll use those another day. What I have got here is a piece somewhere of vellum that I've cut that's just slightly smaller than that piece of card, our pigment sprinkled card that I've just created, and I've got this swirls and curls embossing folder. I'm going to pop that piece of vellum in there, and we need, it's just a standard size embossing folder, so we just need to take out our base plate, and depending on what machine that you've got, die machine will depend what sandwich you need for these different embossing folders. But I'm sure that you will be an expert on your own machine and will know just what your sandwiches are. So we've now got a beautifully embossed piece of vellum. I think I can tuck my big shot down out the way for now. So what I thought we would do is I've cut another black mat, and we've got our pigment sprinkles, and I thought we would put our swirly vellum at the back so that we've got some swirly stars. They look quite pretty, don't they? So let's stick our vellum in place around the edge here where it's not going to be seen, because that's the thing with vellum, isn't it? It is the attaching it and what adhesive to use, and then we'll decide which way up we're going to have our stars. I think we'll go that way. And do we want it flat, or do we want to raise it up? No, I think it wants to be flat actually. I think it wants to be a bit closer to that vellum, and I am going to put some glue around the edge of the stars to ensure that they sort of stick quite snugly with that vellum underneath. There we go. what sort of a greeting shall we put on that one? I think that's my other sheet gone. Here it is. I think actually we're going to go with love, joy and peace. It is very psychedelic, isn't it? So it sort of almost is like, you know, Peace Man. So let's, there's the love, there's the joy. Where's my peace gone? You see, no wonder I'm struggling today, if my peace has gone missing. I feel as if I must be looking at it. There's love. Well, that is very odd. You know, when you think you must be going mad. There is definitely a peace stamp in there because we used it on Monday. Ah, it should be up there. And it's not. Aha, I can see it. It's fallen out. There we go. So we've got love, we've got joy, and we've got peace. Just wondering what colours to do that. So shall we go again with another piece of black card? And let me just grab a piece. And this time I think we will go with some silver embossing powder. Are we going to get away with doing all three at once, do you think? Because then we're going to cut round them anyway. Let's live dangerously, shall we? Ink that up. Let's bring back in our mat. Let us get our embossing buddy and give that a little bit of a rub. And let's stamp those. Love, joy and peace. Oh, come here. Hello, Joan. Joan, I really need to get to see you. I have an order here for you. There we go. So let's bring back in our heat gun. And let's heat emboss our silver embossing. So there's the joy. There's the love. And there's the piece. And we'll take our snips. And we'll cut around them. My fingers are really multicoloured now. Look, if they were bad at the start of this video, that's nothing compared to what they are now. It's looking a little bit on the wonky side. Let's see if we can straighten that up a little bit. There we have Joy. We have Peace. And we have Love. Decisions as to where we want them to go. Like a jigsaw, which piece fits where? No, that piece still doesn't look quite right there, does it? Nope, definitely needs to be scattered. How about that? That will do. I believe that's where they're going to land. I'm down to the edge bits on this particular pack of dimensionals, but you make sure you use up every last scrap on your sheet. I have had to rescue these sheets from bins before now at classes where people have thrown them away with the edge bits on, thinking that, you know, they weren't any good. Dear oh dear. We don't want to be wasting our dimensionals. Right, and there's a bit of love. Not enough of that in the world, is there? So let's fold this card base over. And let's stick this one on. So you've got you can see all those colours in those pigments and how they're all sort of broken down and spread out. You can see the blues and the pinks in that purple. Really pretty. And where they blend together and mix together. So you do never get two the same when you're using these, because you are just sprinkling them on and spritzing and seeing what's happened. And despite the fact that that was one sheet of A5 card, those two cards have a really different sort of feel about them, even though they came from the one sheet, because one came from one end and one came from the other, and the colours were different. I think we need to add a few sparkly bits to this end as well, don't we? Just to lift those sort of darker little bits. And we'll put one more down here. So there we are. So not only have we had fun with our dies and stamps from that So Many Stars bundle, but we've also had fun with our Pigment Sprinkles. I need to have a look at my garden green one, because obviously there's been a bit of leakage in that one. There was far too much powder sitting on the top than we wanted. So there's the stamp set. There's all those beautiful dies, looking a little bit jumbled up now. One back in there, and somewhere we've got our swirly die that we'll pop back in there in a minute, These nice bits that go on the edge, all those fancy dies, all these lovely little bits that you can use as twinkly bits around the outside. So a gorgeous, gorgeous die set, a fabulous stamp set, great fun with the pigments. And if we bring back in the cards that we had already got, we have this one I'd previously made with some sprinkles, but using some of the different coloured. That one got the Bermuda Bay sprinkles in there. And then here's a card just using those stitched stars to create a really simple but effective birthday card. There's my swirly die. And my one missing thing is the ornament that we made on Monday, which is in such a safe place that I can't actually see it. There it is, hiding under the dimensional sheets. And there was our ornament that we made on Monday. So really sort of different looks, and you can create really, really wide range of looks of cards with this set. It's a fabulous set, and one that's going to take you all through Christmas and well beyond. So if it's one that you want to add to your basket, then I shall put links up to this video when we've finished, so do that. And thank you for joining me, and I will be back on Monday morning when I hope to be a little more organised. But thank you for joining me to play and to get messy this evening. Can't beat a bit of messy crafting. So have a lovely weekend, and I'll see you on Monday.